Have you ever noticed that sometimes the simplest things can trip you up the most? One minute you feel like you're rocking it, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, something derails you and sends you spiraling backwards. I think we've probably all been there at one time or another, right? And it's definitely a struggle that I am all too familiar with, especially when it comes to losing weight and getting healthy. But the good news is that once you're able to recognize the things that are holding you back, it's a lot easier to overcome them. And that's why in today's episode, we're going to do just that, talking about the three most dangerous words in your vocabulary, at least when it comes to health and weight loss, and how you can start reframing your mindset to set yourself up for success. Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Ruth Soukup, and here we'll talk about everything from the science of weight loss to practical tips for making your health a priority in the midst of a busy life. It's a little bit nerdy, a little bit funny, and a little bit revolutionary. So buckle up, friend, because it's about to get real. Hey there, and welcome back to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast, formerly known as the Ditch the Carbs podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruth Soukup, and I am the founder of Thinlicious and the creator of the Thin Adapted System, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of 7 books. And, I've said it before, I'll say it again. These days, I am pretty much obsessed with one thing: helping women over 40 create freedom in their lives by transforming their health. I like to think of it as starting a health revolution. And that's really what this podcast is all about. It's about the freedom to feel your best, the freedom to not be controlled by food addictions ever again, and the freedom to confidently pursue all your big goals and dreams because your health and weight issues are no longer holding you back. And if that gets you excited, then you're going to like it here, guys, because we are health rebels and we are not afraid to question the status quo or to do it a little differently and forge your own path. And as you can probably tell, if this is not your first time, I'm on a little bit of a mindset kick right now. Maybe it's just because I've been working on it so much in my own life, but I'm actually really excited about today's episode because I feel like this is a topic that's so important and yet so often so easily overlooked. And that topic is the power of our words, and specifically how the words we use to describe our situation or our circumstances, especially in our own heads, can have a huge impact on our ability to succeed, or alternatively on our tendency to self-sabotage. And I know you're like, oh gosh, Ruth's going to talk about mindset again, right? Or here we go with the woo-woo stuff. But it's actually scientifically proven to be true. And I think if you guys can start to understand this principle and apply it to your own life, you're going to be amazed at how much easier it suddenly becomes to do everything in life, right? But especially to reach your goals. And we're going to dive in just a sec. But before we go any further, I do want to tell you about one thing really quick because it totally relates to this topic and also because it's very exciting and because it's going to be so good, so good. So here it is. 1 week from today, I am hosting a 5-day challenge that is going to be epic. You guys, there's no other way to describe it. I mean, I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but this actually is epic. It's unlike anything I've ever done before in my company because it is a joint event. It's being co-hosted by all 4 of my brands: Living While Spending Less, Elite Blog Academy, Do It Scared, and Thinlicious, all together for one epic challenge. It's called dun 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 Ignite Your Best Year Yet. And so, like I said, it's a 5-day challenge. I'll be hosting it live every day. If you've never been on with me live, it's pretty fun, right? Like we have a good time together. But the whole point of this is to help you walk through a very specific process for, first of all, getting clarity on what your goals are and what you actually want. But then that's only the beginning because we're going to be talking about how to work through resistance so it doesn't hold you back. And then We're going to be mapping out a big picture vision for your life. And then we're going to be breaking that down into an actionable plan that you can actually implement in 2024. Like I said, it's going to be so good. And now that I have all the content and the frameworks already that I'm planning to teach, I can honestly tell you that this is probably one of the most powerful things I've ever put together, at least in terms of the immediate impact it's going to have on your life and motivation and mindset, right? I create programs. That's what I do. I have Elite Blog Academy and now our new Powerhouse program that's going to be amazing. And I've got TAS, which is an amazing program, but those are programs that you have to like dig into and spend time in, right? For months, if not years, to get the full results and the full impact. This is going to be instant impact. This is 1 week of your life that will change the whole trajectory of your year. So yeah, I'm excited about it. If you can't tell, I'm excited. So here's how to get your ticket. You go to igniteyourbestyet.com. Once again, that's igniteyourbestyet.com. And then you'll see there are 3 ticket options that you can choose from, basically to fit every budget. But if you can, I would say definitely try to upgrade to at least the VIP option, because that's where you'll get access to the workbook and to the breakout groups. And that part is going to be really, really good. Like totally worth it. I promise. This thing is so valuable. It's going to be like insanely valuable no matter what ticket you get. But again, to get your ticket, get it ASAP at igniteyourbestyet.com, because this is actually happening next week, right? It's happening December 4th through 8th. So this is a big deal. It's happening. You don't want to miss it. It's live only. That's your one chance. So you got to be there. igniteyourbestyet.com in case you missed it. Okay, but let's get back to today's topic, which is, once again, if you forgot because I've been rambling now, it's the power of words. And I tell you what, the older I get, the more I realize just how much the words that we use and the way that we talk to ourselves actually has such a profound impact on our beliefs and on our mindset. And ultimately, our beliefs and our mindset are ultimately what shapes our actions, right? The things that we do and the choices that we make, and that in turn shapes our results. So to put it in very simple terms, if you're using the wrong words, you're going to get the wrong results. And I can tell you, this is absolutely something that is true for me. Even as like a goal-setting junkie who has been working on my own personal development for years, literally writing books on personal development, right? I still struggle with this all the time. It is a constant battle to be intentional with my words and with my thoughts, and not to slip back into old patterns and old ways of thinking that haven't served me in the past. And it's been a good reminder for me that this is something that we all need to be aware of and we all need to be working on pretty much all the time, right? You never stop growing. You never stop getting better at improving your mindset. But honestly, it's not always easy, because sometimes it feels like our brains are just hardwired to focus on the negative and to look for the problems. And we're hardwired for self-protection and self-preservation. And sometimes that means we're constantly looking for what's going wrong or what's going to go wrong or what could go wrong. And so we say things to ourselves like, I'll never be able to do it, or it's just too hard, or I'm always going to be this way, or I've always struggled with this, or I don't have the willpower, or it's just not meant to be, or I'm too busy, or I don't have enough money, or I'm not strong enough, or I'm not good enough, right? All those messages that keep playing through our head. And while it might seem like those are just words, they are actually incredibly powerful. Because every time we say those things, we're reinforcing a belief, not only in our conscious mind, but also in our subconscious mind, which is where our actions ultimately stem from. And it's those actions or lack of action that will always determine our results. But what if you could change that, right? What if you could change your words and change your results? What if you could start to be more intentional with your language and with your self-talk and reprogram your subconscious mind to believe that you could actually achieve your goals? Honestly, that would be pretty powerful, right? And the good news, guys, is that it's actually possible. But the first step, as always, is awareness. You have to first recognize the words and phrases that are holding you back in order to change them, which is why today we're going to take a deep dive into just that. The most dangerous words and phrases that are actually keeping you from reaching your weight loss goals and what you can say instead. So, Let's get into it, right? Let's start by talking about the 3 most dangerous words when it comes to in your vocabulary when it comes to health and weight loss. And it's probably when it comes to a lot of other things too, but we're going to talk about it specifically in this context. And I'll bet that you're probably using these 3 words all the time without even realizing it. In fact, I pretty much guarantee it because it's something almost everyone says, and it's something that has become so common in our culture that we don't even really stop to think about it. And those 3 words are I don't have. Let that sink in for just a minute. I don't have. Have you ever said it before? I'm guessing you probably have. Maybe you've said it out loud, but even if you haven't, I'm guessing you probably say it to yourself in your own head all the time, right? I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough willpower. I don't have enough energy. I don't have the right genetics. I don't have a supportive spouse. I don't have a good metabolism. I don't have the right resources. I don't have the ability to cook healthy food. I don't have the right gym equipment. I don't have a gym membership. I don't have the right environment. I don't have the right education. I don't have the right support system. I don't have a good plan. I don't have the ability to stay on track. The list goes on and on and on and on. And while all of those things may feel true, the reality, this is where I'm going to throw you out some tough love here, guys. The reality is that they're simply not true. In fact, they're just excuses. And they might be good excuses, but even a good excuse is still an excuse. And before you get mad at me or before you decide to like turn off this podcast off right now, hear me out because I know that it can be really easy to get defensive about this. I know because I've been there too. Sometimes we get so attached to our excuses because they make us feel better about our lack of progress. They help us to justify our current situation and the fact that we're not doing anything about it. And if you're not in a place right now where you're actually ready to make a change, then that's totally fine. It's not my job to convince you. I'm just here to tell you the truth that you really, truly can do anything you want once you get honest with yourself about what's holding you back. Because here's the reality every single one of those excuses that start with I don't have are just that, excuses. None of those things are actually true, but they feel true because they're the words that you've been using to describe your situation for so long. They're the words you keep telling yourself over and over again. They're the words that have become so ingrained in your mind and in your belief system that you don't even realize you're saying them anymore. But those words, I don't have, are incredibly dangerous because they're very disempowering, right? They take away your power to change because they make you believe that you're stuck and that you have no control over your circumstances. And the truth is that while you may not be able to immediately change every single circumstance in your life, you always have a choice in how you respond to those circumstances. You can either choose to keep telling yourself what you don't have and keep getting the same results, or you can choose to start telling yourself a different story and actually get different results. But the first step in being able to choose differently is to recognize that all of those I don't have statements are actually just a choice. They are a choice to stay stuck. They are a choice to stay where you are. They are a choice to not take action. And they are a choice to keep telling yourself the same story over and over and over again. So the question is, if you're using the words I don't have and then following it with some kind of excuse, what are you really choosing for yourself? And is that the choice that you want to make? Because at the end of the day, we are all 100% responsible for our own choices. And those choices are what shape our lives and our results. But what if I said, and what if I told you, you could make a different choice? What if you could actually change your words and change your outcome? What if you could start to reframe your excuses and turn them into something empowering? Well, dun, 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 guess what? You can. And it starts by changing just one word. Instead of saying, I don't have, you can start saying, I won't, right? I won't make time. I won't invest the money. I won't prioritize my health. I won't change my habits. I won't get off the couch. I won't cook healthy food. I won't take care of myself. I won't get help. I won't quit the sugar. I won't do the work. Because that's the truth, right? You're not actually doing those things. You're choosing not to do you're choosing not to do them. And again, that's a choice that you get to make. But at least when you start to recognize it as a choice, you can start to ask yourself some important questions. Questions like, why am I choosing this? And is this really what I want? And what would happen if I chose differently? And what do I stand to gain? And what do I stand to lose? And those are really powerful questions because they force you to take a long, hard look at what you're really saying to yourself and the stories that you've been telling yourself for so long. And I think you'll probably be surprised at what you find. I think you'll realize that a lot of these excuses that start with I don't have are really just fear in disguise, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of what other people will think, fear of the effort required, fear of losing the comfort and security of whatever your current situation is. And that's okay. Fear is a normal emotion. It's something that we all have to deal with, but you don't have to let it hold you back. And once you start to realize that all of those I don't have statements are just a choice, you can start to make a new choice. You can start to choose to acknowledge your fear and then choose to take action in spite of your fear. You can choose to be brave. You can choose to believe in yourself. You can choose to take small steps forward, even if you're not 100% sure of the outcome. And guys, that's where the real magic happens because when you start to take action based on the new choices you're making for yourself, because every time you do that, every time you take action, no matter how small, it changes your momentum. It propels you forward. It gives you energy and confidence to keep going. It allows you to start reaping the rewards of your new choices. And it all starts with the simple act of changing your words. So I know like that was a lot that I just poured on you, right? A lot of Ruth love right there. But let's think about a few examples of how this might work in real life. So, think about an excuse, right? Excuse number 1, I don't have enough time. And this is probably one of the most common excuses that we hear and honestly, it's one I use a lot too, even now. But the reality is that we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And it's how we choose to spend the time that matters. So when you say, I don't have enough time, what you're really saying is, this is not a priority for me right now. And that's okay. It's okay if getting healthy and losing weight is not your priority right now. You don't have to do it all. You can choose to focus on other things, but at least be honest with yourself about the fact that this is a choice. Got it? Right? See how that works? Excuse number 2, I don't have enough money. This is another big one because when it comes to getting healthy and losing weight, there's always this perception that eating healthy is more expensive. And while that may be true in some ways, the reality is that it doesn't have to be. You can choose to prioritize your spending. You can choose to cut back in other areas. You can choose to get creative. You could choose to get a part-time job. You can choose to invest in your health, or you can choose not to. And that's okay too, but it's a choice. Excuse number 3, I don't have the right resources. And this is one that I hear a lot when it comes to our program. Women will say, I'd love to do TAS, but I don't have the right resources. And while it's true that our program is not free, it's also true that we've really worked to make it as affordable as possible, which is why we've had so many women go through our program and get incredible results without additional resources. Because the truth is that the best resource you can have is a willingness to change and a willingness to take action. And that's something that you can choose to do with or without our program. Excuse number 4, I don't have the right support system. This one comes up a lot as well, and I totally get it. Having a supportive partner or a supportive friend or a supportive community can make a huge difference when it comes to reaching your goals. But the reality is that you can choose to find support. You can choose to join an online group. You can choose to seek out like-minded people. You can choose to ask for help. You can choose to have those tough conversations with the people in your life. You can choose to set boundaries, or you can choose not to. And that's okay too, but it's a choice. Every situation that you think you don't have, what you don't have is actually a choice that you're making. You see it? It really is all about choice. And while it's true that you may not be able to immediately change your circumstances, you always have that choice to in how you respond. You can choose to keep doing what you've always done, and you can choose to keep getting the same results, or you can choose to do things differently and actually get different results. But again, it all comes back to being able to choose differently is recognizing that I don't have statements are just a choice. They're a choice to stay stuck. They're a choice to not take action. They're a choice to keep telling yourself that same story over and over and over again. So the question is, if you're using the words I don't have and then following it with some kind of excuse, what are you really choosing for yourself? And is that the choice you want to make? So now that we're aware of these 3 little words that have such a big impact on our ability to succeed, and now that we've talked about how dangerous and disempowering they can be, it's probably worth taking a few minutes to talk about what to do next, right? Because awareness is only the first step. Once you're aware of what you're actually saying to yourself and the way those words are impacting your mindset, that's when you can start to be more intentional with choosing different words. And I think that's the key right there, making a conscious decision to change your words and change your story. Because at the end of the day, it really is just a story. What you've been telling yourself, whether consciously or unconsciously, it's just a story. And it's a story that you get to change. So, how do you do that? Well, it's honestly as simple as recognizing when you're using those 3 little words and then making a conscious decision to choose different words. For example, when you catch yourself saying, I don't have enough time, instead of saying that, you say, this is not a priority for me right now. Or instead of saying, I don't have enough money, you say, I'm choosing to spend my money on other things right now. Or instead of saying, I don't have the right resources, you say, I haven't found the right resources yet. Or instead of saying, I don't have the right support system, you could say, I'm choosing not to seek out a support system. And I'm telling you, right? Even though it's simple, it doesn't mean it's easy. It probably will feel uncomfortable, especially at first, because what it's doing is forcing you to take ownership over your own choices. But I promise you that it's way more empowering than continuing to tell yourself the same old story. And so every time you catch yourself using those same 3 little words, right? I don't have, I don't have, I don't have, choose to reframe your statement. Every time you do that, you're taking back control. You're choosing your own path. You're telling yourself a new story. And that is where the real change happens. So, what are you going to do? Well, the next time you catch yourself saying, I don't have, remember that it's not actually about what you have or don't have. It's about the choices you make and the words you use to tell your story. Whew. All right, guys, that's probably enough of today's lecture. But if this gave you some good food for thought and you want to actually see my framework for repairing your resistance and reframing your thoughts, because I'm telling you, it's pretty good, it's pretty powerful, then be sure to grab your ticket for Ignite Your Best Year Yet, which once again, you can get at igniteyourbestyearyet.com because it's going to be epic. I already said that. I'll say it again. And that's all for now. I will see you soon.